All right, ladies. Good afternoon, everyone. I said good afternoon, everyone. So I just explained to the ladies, I start my day rather early at about 1:30. So right now, this is happy hour for me. So we're going to have a good time, okay? This is a really important conversation that I know you guys are going to really, really appreciate because this is a topic that affects all of us, no matter what industry that you're in. So this conversation, the Connection Solution, bringing workers together for well-being and innovation. Now, we already know the statistics, right? We already know how our workers are feeling, how the employees are feeling in the workplace. But I'm going to share the facts just in case you forgot. A Gallup and U.S. Surgeon General survey show that nearly 60% of employees report feeling lonelier, more isolated, and less connected than ever before, even before the pandemic. So we're dealing with a new generation of workers who are having a hard time connecting. And so it's up to us, right, to create environments where not only can our employees strive and do better, but also they can be productive, right? That's the goal. We want our employees to come in, do a good job, and be happy at it. So we're going to talk about some of the wellness initiatives with some amazing speakers who are joining us here today. So ladies, thanks for being here. Really excited about this conversation and really trying to figure out ways to help make sure that the folks who are here don't feel invisible in the workplace. I think that's kind of a bigger thing in this world of social media and AI. There's a lot of other ways to be seen, and it can be hard to feel connected with the people that we work with, right? So before we dive into any really deep questions, if you ladies could each introduce yourselves, tell us about what role you have in your organization and how you use wellness on a daily basis. And Zoe, we'll start with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zoe Hernandez Wolfe, and I'm the Vice President of Talent Management and Development at Baptist Health South Florida, the probably largest healthcare organization here in South Florida. We have about 12 hospitals, a number of outpatient and diagnostic centers, and of course, the name of the game at Baptist is all about wellness and well-being. So really proud of the fact that I'm able to think about wellness and well-being and partner with great leaders at our organization who make that a priority for us. So for me, wellness is really about starting my day off with thinking about what kind of healthy choices am I going to make today, whether it's with food or with exercise or prioritizing sleep. They say that everything starts with sleep, and so I'm working really hard to make sure that my sleep is something that allows me to perform at my best on a daily basis.
Christine?
Good afternoon. I'm Christine Muldoon, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Strategy at WebMd Health Services. No, I am not part of the WebMd where you all check symptom checker and realizing it's not an ingrown toenail, you're dying. We are part of the WebMd family, but WebMd Health Services designs well-being solutions and services for organizations that want to make a strategic investment in their people and demonstrate that they really care about the health and well-being of their people. We have been in business focusing on well-being for over 25 years. Our mission is to empower well-being in everyone, and we've stayed true to that mission. We have the opportunity to impact over 60 million individuals working at organizations with their well-being. From my perspective as a vendor up here on stage, of course, our goal is to help everyone focus on some aspect of well-being. But for me personally, I love to get out and exercise every single day. And as you'll hear us talking, I think there's different stages of life where you're supposed to focus on physical or weight training. And so I'm kind of trying to navigate all the good things that I'm supposed to be doing. But I think it's a great way for me personally to start off my day, clear my head, and then, go into burnout mode, so.
Wonderful. Hi, I'm Melissa Montgomery. I'm the Vice President of HR with Lennar, supporting our construction and home building associates across the country. One of the most exciting things about Lennar when I first joined is our initiative to become the healthiest company in America. And absolutely love that because when you think about wellness and well-being, it goes into so many different aspects of your lives. And for me personally, as a mom of 2 teenagers and a wife and And with a pretty demanding career, wellness to me is all about getting to just be your best self throughout the day and throughout all of the key moments, and trying to be a really good role model for my family as well.
Okay, let's dive into it. And this is for everyone on the panel, this first question as we get started. Why do you think that the sense of community in our workspaces has begun to fade away? Why is it that so many people feel that they don't have a community, they don't have people to connect to in the workplace? And Melissa, we'll start with you since we started this way first.
Sure. I think if you just look at the world in general, it's moving at a rapid pace. And humans by nature, every single one of us in this room, when we're experiencing a lot of change, it causes fear and it causes anxiety. And that's true in our workplaces as well. As we look at our workplaces, one of the most important things to me has been, how do you really build authentic connection between coworkers and between leaders and their teams? And we don't talk often enough about the simple things that make up well-being. Some of those simple things are, I feel like somebody knows what my goals are at work. Somebody knows who I am as a person. What are the things that I want to accomplish? Outside of all of the wonderful extracurriculars, making sure people are getting their steps in and they're eating good, those are all really, really important factors as well. But the foundation really comes to, having a really good human connection and making sure that leaders are being good humans. And especially for our newer workforce, our Gen Zers, or sometimes even more new in career than that, they have not had that experience of understanding that, when you receive really tough feedback, is that in the spirit of helping you grow? When you are getting coached, is that because we want to help you get to the goal that you really have over the long term in your career? Making that distinct connection and explicitly saying that, hey, I want you to be in this meeting so you can learn this one thing. I'm gonna give you this feedback because it's gonna help you with this. That is the core of really building a foundation and connection, and we lose that over Slack messages and team messages and quick video calls, right? So you have to be intentional in building that out on a day-to-day basis.
I would say that everything you just said, but the workplace is essentially our place for connection and community. And since COVID and everyone kind of went virtual, and many organizations are still that way, and they're trying to bring employees back to the office. How many of you are still virtual? I have a lot of people yeah. So who do you connect with on a day-to-day basis, and how do you connect, and how that impacts your well-being as well? So yeah, sure, we're all on Zoom meetings and we're turning on our camera, or, as a leader, you're trying to encourage people to turn on their camera. That's not really an opportunity to have true, meaningful connections in the workplace. And very similar to what you said, I think the younger generation is in a digital generation. So, their communities, their connection are the scrolling, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, Snapchat, or whatever else is in their pocket. And so we also then don't create those personal environments and get to really know individual people. Again, I'm bringing the perspective of well-being. And when you think about well-being, it has evolved to be not only physical, but think about how many organizations are really focused on investing in the mental health of their employees, because our mental health continues to decline. We don't know how to make connections. We don't know how to talk to people. We don't know who we can go to. You can't just walk in a hallway many times and ask a colleague or a peer or your manager when you're having a challenge, because we're not set up that way anymore. Our expectations are very different from a workplace environment. And so the evolution of well-being is essentially happening because we can either thank COVID or say, COVID, you really stink, because this is what has happened to us. We don't know how to create those connections, talk to individuals, and we don't have that environment. And that, of course, plays into our personal lives as well.
Thank you for that. I totally agree with what you both have been saying, and especially as we start to look at our younger generations who are so connected to whether it's social media or Instagram or TikTok, or what's the other one that people are using now? X. I think people lose touch with the humanity in each of us when we're simply connecting through devices. And so what that leads to is also a lot of misunderstandings, right? Because a simple conversation that we might have that might be a joke, and we might put that on a Teams message or on Instagram or whatever it might be, it gets misunderstood. And so then all of a sudden, you have people who have hurt feelings, people who are upset with each other, and who aren't seeking clarification because that body language that communicates to us so much is lost through digital conversations. And so part of what we really need to do also as leaders is help to educate our teams. Technology is not going to go away. At the end of the day, we're going to continue communicating through Slack and Teams and Zoom. And so we have to start educating folks about how do we communicate effectively through these channels so that people can still feel that sense of connection. And when does it make sense to actually connect with someone in person versus through technology? Because there is a time and place for having that conversation in person. I mean, if I was in the office, I would purposely sometimes get up from my desk and walk to somebody's office and have a conversation versus sending them an email. Virtually now, sometimes that becomes impossible. And as leaders, we also have to create those spaces for intentionally coming together with our teams. Sometimes, people grouse, oh, I have to go in, I can't believe I have to drive, Miami traffic, this and that. But you know what? We have to make that time and space because it's only that human connection that's gonna keep us together as a whole.
Authentic connections, right?
Absolutely.
Where our employees feel like we are really connected. And Melissa, you talked about a Gen Z, right? The Gen Z, are there any Gen Zers in the room? Definition of Gen,
Yay!
Hello, welcome. So for you guys who don't know, you probably do, born between 1997 and 2012, this generation is now entering the workforce, right? They are tech savvy, they are value driven, growth oriented, they are seeking meaningful work relationships, right? They want flexibility, they need clear direction. But there are those who could say, some of the stereotypes, they're addicted to technology, they have short attention spans. I was in the newsroom, and for Halloween, I dressed up as Whitley Gilbert from A Different World. Have you guys, Different World? Do you guys know the show?
Yes.
None of my coworkers knew, all Gen Z. So how do we deal with this generation? And thank you for being in the room today, but I do think that there are many, some of us are overly sensitive, may have a hard time taking feedback, but they are way more tech savvy than most of the newsroom, right? They are able to bounce between programs a lot faster. They are faster and quicker with information. There are so many positive attributes with these new generation of workers that are coming in. How do we create these authentic relationships in communities? And Christine, let's start with you maybe with that.
Yeah, so I'm going to look at it from a slightly different perspective.
As a vendor,
But how do you connect well-being with different populations, Gen Z included? And at the end of the day, it's not one size fits all, and we all know that. And every person in this room is on a different well-being journey. Your needs are different, where you want to focus, and how you want to interact as well. So Zoe and I were talking earlier about a health coach. And a health coach is, literally telephone, you pick up and you talk to someone on the phone. Yes, you can chat with them, group coaching online. But we were talking about the value of having a health coach, someone that you can talk to and discuss, what your path is and where you need focus and help. Now, getting back to Gen Z may want to pick up the phone, but they might be more apt to, I want to text with my health coach and talk about, what I'm facing, and maybe it's not, going through menopause and, should I be doing weight training or running a marathon, but maybe they're focused more on mental and emotional health or financial well-being. So the point is, whether it's Gen Z or a different generation, you have to have multiple dimensions of well-being, multiple paths, and really support people and meet them where they are. And, it doesn't matter what generation they are, you just need to have that flexibility. And we're not going to share what generation we are.
Ladies, anything additional? No?
Yeah, I think that with Gen Z, it's really about helping them come into the workplace in a way that's meaningful and impactful for them. I have a couple of Gen Z employees on my team, and they're both very quiet. As we're getting together at team events or team parties, they're both very quiet, and it's like bringing them out of their shell. But once you connect with them through work-related, whether it's Teams or Zoom or whatever, they come to life.
True.
Right? And so I think part of helping Gen Z is also helping them to understand what is their place in the workplace, how do you help them to fit in, what are the things that they find valuable that you can help them find at work, and sometimes those things are creating community spaces for them to connect. So at Baptist Health, as an example, we have a business resource group, an employee resource group that's multi-generational. And so they can join that business resource group and they can talk about their needs and their likes and how to best support them in their space. So I think as leaders and as organizations, we have to listen with intent to all of our generations, but especially as this new workforce is coming into play, because they are the newest generation. There's not that many of them yet in the workplace, but they're coming, and so we've got to be able to adapt.
And speaking of adapting, the magic words, AI, right? If you put AI on anything, like it's immediate sell. And for us in media, AI has really been a bigger challenge in our industry because we're dealing with false information. I was explaining to the ladies earlier that oftentimes we get videos into our newsroom, but now false videos can be created that shows flooding in downtown Miami. Well, we have to verify anything that comes in before we share it with the public, right? And so I'm sure everyone in every industry has challenges and also the positives of AI, right? You can type in, what you have in your fridge and what you want for dinner tonight. There's tons of tricks and great things that AI technology can provide for us, but that also begs the question, how is AI maybe helping us? Is it hindering human connection, or can it help? And Melissa, let's start with you maybe, as we're talking about the evolution of how we're connecting with each other today.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI, to your point, it's like all that we hear about all the time, right? And I have 2 teens, so I hear about this extra, even when I'm at home. To me, it's a tool just like anything is a tool. If you think back to before cell phones, the fear would have been, oh my gosh, well, how are you going to connect with people? You're not going to all meet up at the same place anymore. And what did we find? Now you can live anywhere in the world. You can FaceTime your family. And so in some ways, we've said this technology has actually brought us a lot closer and it's given us capabilities we didn't have before. I think that's true with AI as well. And as I was thinking about some of the well-being initiatives, it brought to mind something our team actually did together last week, which was we took everybody in HR, regardless of which job they did. So you have payroll specialists, you've got HR generalists, you've got benefits folks, and we all sat and we vibe coded together. So vibe coding is a technology that allows you to basically put an idea in, it builds the code, and you can create a product. This was a really great example of how you can really drive innovation and inclusion on your team. Because we sat down, many different generations, many different backgrounds, and we worked on a problem together and we learned something together. Most important, we were all really uncomfortable together because none of us work in tech, right? And at the end of the day, we came out with a product. And so as you think about team building, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind when I think about AI is this is a tool. How can I use this tool to make me better or make my team better, the same way I do with any tool? And how do I just stay curious and stay cautious with that curiosity, but stay curious?
I love that because it's really, you're creating that shared experience through AI, and that it's those shared experiences that build connections. So it's a wonderful way to build connections amongst your teammates. When I look at AI, we're constantly hearing about, AI is going to change jobs, it's going to eliminate jobs. What jobs are Gen Z going to go into? There are, these entry-level jobs that AI is going to take away. I look at it just kind of like how you said it. 100, 200 years ago, when we invented automobiles, like the horse and buggy went away, right? But jobs were replaced. No longer did you need blacksmiths, but you needed mechanics. So yes, our jobs are going to evolve, but at the end of the day, AI is going to make it so that the mundane, the repetitive is taken care of by AI, and then leaving more time for individuals to really connect with individuals. So when I look at it from a healthcare perspective, AI is going to help our nurses to deliver better care, not only because the AI and the technology is helping them to deliver better care, but what is more important than touch and that human connection when you're in the hospital, when you're not feeling well. People want to be taken care of, and that's what AI is going to be able to do. That's going to be able to eliminate that redundancy and give people back time to create better connections, which in turn will impact health and well-being.
And I'll agree with what you said, Melissa, is that word cautious, that's definitely our philosophy. Earlier in the year, we had clients that were like, do not talk about AI. Like, AI is, we cannot discuss it with well-being because well-being is personal. You're dealing with health information, and our organization is not ready for AI. Well, only fast forward several months, and now our clients are asking, well, what are you doing with AI? So I think it's going to be a quick transformation. I saw most of the sessions today were about AI, but you have to move cautiously. I do believe that there will be a role for AI in helping guide users and navigate their health and well-being, what they could do next, where do they want to focus, and then provide, here's some resources that would be helpful for you. But again, our perspective at WebMD is like we've started with customer service and those types of questions that individuals have, but expect to see more of that personalization and AI support that journey for individuals.
Okay. Next question is for Zoe, and ladies, you can echo in as well if you also have initiatives. At Baptist Health, you guys have some human-centered initiatives like Code Lavender and the Calm Rooms, which are super important to help staff members cope and deal with the stress and trauma of the jobs that they have. How have these initiatives helped supported employees?
Absolutely. I think that is one of the most important things that we can do at Baptist is really take care of our employees so that they can take care of our patients. And Code Lavender was, at hospitals, we have codes for everything, right? There's a code if someone's having a heart attack, if a baby's missing. I mean, there's just code for everything. And one of our hospitals in Boca Regional came up with the idea of a Code Lavender to be able to support each other whenever an employee was feeling like it was just too much. I mean, our caregivers are experiencing so much stress and so much burnout on a daily basis, especially during COVID, but this was born before COVID. And so the idea behind Code Lavender is that any employee at any time can call a Code Lavender, and then that means that their team or others in different units and departments come around, they have a conversation, they discuss. We also have pastoral care, which means a chaplain can come over if so requested. And it's just a moment for people to be able to connect, to decompress, to talk through it. And typically employees feel a little bit better. We've also, as part of Code Lavenders, we've been able to send out just gift packs to employees at their homes. They can access a gift pack when they call it Code Lavender at the office as well. And it usually contains things like, lavender, which is supposed to be calming. And then obviously we have, the calm rooms, right? So very, serene spaces where sometimes just a 5-10 minute break can just kind of recenter. And especially for our caregivers who are dealing with difficult situations day in and day out, sometimes it becomes a little bit too much, and that space is available for them to kind of reconnect and decompress.
Ladies, anything to echo?
Yeah, I love the idea of giving it a term as well, so it's like a safe thing to be able to call an audible with your team when you need to. At Lennar, we have a chief medical officer, which is a similar kind of approach to being able to support employees. And what I've loved about it is I think it really gives you the opportunity to recognize that every person's a human. They come to work and maybe their mom is sick, or they're taking care of something where they've gotten a diagnosis I don't know what to do next with, right? Our healthcare system isn't always the easiest to navigate. And so even if you can't have a chief medical officer, having some way for associates to have somebody that can be there in their time of need at times will make the most meaningful impact on them overall for themselves and their families.
Christine, the next question is for you. And WebMD works with a wide range of clients, reaching over 65 million people. So what trends are you seeing around employee well-being and connections across industries?
Yeah, so how many of you have a well-being program at your organization? I'm just curious. Oh, all right, we're gonna have to talk later, folks. No, the evolution of well-being is happening. It continues to happen. Every year we launch our well-being trends, and going into 2026, there's 4 key trends I'll share with you. The first is around advancing holistic well-being. So it's that idea that there's multiple dimensions of well-being. We all know them: physical, mental, social, financial, and work. And they are interconnected. So when one is impacted, it does have a ripple effect on the others. And so we will start to see a deeper approach to well-being in the areas. There's 3 main areas of this. It's women's health, with an emphasis on, you guessed it, menopause, because middle age is an important time for women in the workplace, and yet menopause is a very silent term in the workplace.
Can I say thank you for that?
You're welcome.
I'm a woman in my 40s, and I'm happy that there's finally some conversation. I'm like, what's going on here? And those conversations, I'm happy that we're having. And the men in the room, okay, listen up.
No, but men in the room also need to be educated as well. If
Absolutely.
you're a leader of women, or you have a spouse at home,
Absolutely.
or anything in between. So women's health, an emphasis on mental health, and also financial well-being. Trend number 2 is about showing organizational care as your strategic advantage. So basically, it's not enough to offer well-being. Employees truly want to know that you care, that you are committed to their overall well-being. And there's different ways to show that, but it's also about the level of culture that you incorporate well-being into. The third is around listening with intent. So if you, I'll date myself a little bit, but do you remember the employee surveys? There were annual employee surveys, and you filled in the little bubble, you submitted it to leadership, and then you just waited and hoped something happens. Kind of talking to Gen Z and different generations, that's not expected anymore. They want real-time feedback and action. So you could do regular little short-term pulse surveys, check in with your employees, but the most important thing is to take action on that. So we're going to see more and more of that next year. And then the last one is a new look at ROI in your investments in well-being. Because yes, a return on investment is important, but it's also about looking how you're impacting retention, your overall culture, presenteeism within your organization, health outcomes. And when you are committed and organizations are viewing and having well-being as an essential part of their culture, you will see change. You will see improvements in health. And we have clients that see a 3-to-1 return on their investment. So those are the 4 major trends that we're starting to see and we'll be focusing on in 2026.
Melissa, you had talked about what Gen Z was looking for, right? And feeling heard and also seen, and also a sense of connection. But it's also, as you mentioned, about networking. It's about real-time coaching. It's about knowing that maybe there's a path for me at the company. Could you give us any examples that you guys may be doing, working with younger folks coming in, maybe helping them to move ahead, or let them know, hey, there could be a path for success, and that helps to keep employees in place?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for anybody, regardless of the generations, any of us when we first started our careers, you are in a time of exploration, right? Because you may have gone to college and you learned some things and you're putting them into practice for the first time, or you may be starting your very first job and you're trying to navigate not only what you're responsible for, but how does this workplace work? And what are those unwritten rules and things like that? So I think number 1, it's really important to understand what each person's goals are, and anchoring those in the skills that they want to develop over the job that they think they want to do. Because we already know, right, jobs change rapidly, work structures change rapidly. And then being really intentional with telling them why you're doing what you're doing with them. If you know that you're going to be coaching somebody to get them to that skill, share that. If you know that they need to shore up a skill, be honest. Provide really honest and meaningful feedback. I think that is the core of building really strong relationships, and also give them time to explore. So if they're still trying to navigate, what it is they might want to do, give them the experience of, if you can't do a full rotational program, which we've had the opportunity to do at Lennar, but there are many other organizations where that might not work. That's okay. They can do job shadow days. They can join meetings that they may not be a part of. You can include them in things just to learn business acumen. And so, being transparent, being authentic, understanding why that's important to them, I think those are the keys. And then also understanding that their idea of how they've built their career might look different than what you've seen in your organization in the past, and that's okay, right? They might need to make more lateral moves, or they might, leave the organization and re-enter again. That's all just part of how we're gonna evolve as a workforce.
Ladies, anything to echo in training future leaders? And
I would just say that at WebMD Health Services, like for our own employees, taking off my vendor hat, we have 2 programs. One is peer-to-peer coaching. So we group employees, and then they meet on a regular basis to sort of hear what do you do with your job? Here's what I do, and then challenge they're facing. There's a prompter each week or each month for them to start that discussion and learn from each other, kind of like a shadowing, but like different variations of that. And then there's also a program we have called Elevate, which is for our managers, because you're often like in the middle manager stage where you've got leaders and you have people below you, and you're kind of figuring out how you grow in your career and your path. And so Elevate brings in senior leaders in panel styles, in different workshops to kind of share different strategies around management to continue to grow yourselves. And those are 2 programs that we use with our own employees, and they're very popular. And it's just a great opportunity to kind of support growth throughout.
okay. Christine, you have mentioned growing focus on life stages and caregiving support. And I know, Zoe, you also mentioned that as well. I think we all know that outside of going to work every day, we have lives outside of work. So making sure that there are maybe groups or support services available. Can you speak a little bit to that, what you guys offer at your company, and maybe ladies as well, if there are other initiatives that you offer?
Yeah, so midlife, we already talked about menopause and caregiving. And then if you're maybe a menopause caregiver, whoo, that's crazy. It's important that your program and how you support employees is holistic, because you have life at work and you have life at home, and those things impact how you show up at work every day. I will just briefly share that the end of last year, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And the day after Christmas, I had brain surgery. And the thing that I realized was how invisible what I was going through was at work. It was, I still have to care for my young adults, and I was trying to be strong and great and present for my team and not have them experience or know what I was going through. And it was at that moment that I realized, well-being is not one size fits all, and you need to be able to, when life really happens, you need something deeper, and you need an organization that's going to support you and understand what those challenges are and continually support you. Caregiving, you could be caring for young children, and we all know when they're sick and you got to stay home, or you're multitasking, and an aging parent and the challenges that's come along with that. And if you're in the sandwich generation, you're handling both of those things. So being able to navigate the challenges that you're facing, where can you go for resources, who can you talk to, those are all things that are essential to supporting your employees and making sure that whether you have benefits or ERGs that support or a comprehensive well-being program, it doesn't matter, but you want to make sure that you're supporting employees through all life stages and all those challenges.
I think a lot of it really boils down to having human-centered leadership and educating our leaders to see our employees as the whole individual and not just as an employee and not just as someone who is there to support the organization, be productive or be more efficient. I think once employees feel that the organization truly cares about them, that their leader truly cares about them, they become more inclined to be engaged and to go above and beyond and to help the organization succeed. So I think we have to really meet every employee wherever they might be at, right? Menopause, caregiving, throw teenagers into the mix, and boy, you really do have that perfect storm. And it's so lovely that we are talking about menopause, because when I was in my 40s, I had no idea what was happening to me. And it was only after I talked to a nurse at a meeting and I told her, oh, I'm experiencing this brain fog. And she's like, that's menopause. I'm like, really? Right? And so we don't talk about it enough. But even having informal conversations can be helpful. Sharing the knowledge that we have with each other can be helpful in supporting us through this health journey that we're each on.
Yeah, I would just say I think that the leadership piece of this is so important because regardless of how many programs we have to support people, feeling like you can participate in that oftentimes comes from trust in your leader or trust in your organization. And for those of you that are sitting in the room and you're like, ooh, I don't know, I'm not dealing with any of these issues, that's okay. Stay curious. Just, making that real connection to learn about the person that you work with every day and how you can best support them. Sometimes just asking, how can I best support you, is enough for them to say, I'm dealing with this, but I don't want you to ask me about it ever again.
Right.
And that's okay, that's fine. Or I have to be off camera every Friday from this time to this time. That's fine, I'm never gonna say anything about you being on camera during that time. So just learn and be curious, and I think that's one of the best ways that we show intent to support.
All right, the next question is for Zoe. You just touched on this just a little bit about connecting with employees and connecting back to values and purpose, why we do what we do. Can you share how faith or empathy-based leadership has helped in the workplace? Being a human in the workplace with other humans.
Right. Yeah, so for us, it really starts with culture. At Baptist Health, we believe very strongly that our culture, our values define who we are. So we don't just have words on a wall. I mean, we live our values every day, and one of those values is compassion. Another one of those values is belief. And when we look at compassion, we talk about leading with empathy. And you don't have to be a leader to lead. It means as you're engaging in a conversation, start off with empathy. Think about, what is this person going through? What has their day been like? What has their week been like? Getting to know and understand your colleagues goes a really long way. And so part of what we do is we try to get our employees to live the values and to do a lot of peer recognition, because really well-being in the workplace starts with feeling good about where you work. If you don't feel good about where you work, it's going to be really hard to go in and day out and do a great job. So feeling good about where you work, and then also really looking at if you're faith-based, fantastic. If you're not a faith-based employee, that's okay too. There is a space for everyone at Baptist Health, regardless of your background, your beliefs, your experiences. We welcome everyone, just like we welcome everyone in our community to our hospitals. So we're really proud of the fact that our employees live our values and that it's driven from the top down to our employee population. And listening with intent to, you mentioned employee surveys, I think a little bit earlier, and I mean, we run our surveys 3 times a year, sometimes 4, to really understand what is it that our employees are telling us. How do they want to be cared for? We ask them, do you feel cared about as a person? And if you do, or if you don't, tell us what we can do differently, and then from there, we'll go back and we'll work with our leaders to implement different support strategies.
All right, the next question is a question that I think a lot of us kind of cringe at. Social media, and how can social media be effective in helping to create better connections? And for me, I obviously spend a lot of time online. I think everyone in the room probably may be guilty of it. But I'll just share my example of how I use it in my workplace in connecting with another generation, our Gen Z. They share a lot about their life, right? So if it's the weekend, I can see what my coworkers are doing if they want to share. And then Monday morning, I say, hey, you went to that concert. Or, hey, I saw you ran 5 miles this weekend. Way to go. You're keeping me motivated. It's another step for me to connect with people who maybe I wouldn't normally have time to have full, deep connections with, right? Social media allows us to kind of get snapshots of people's lives and build stronger connections. So I pose the questions to you, ladies. How can social media be used to maybe do better connections and networking and help build stronger workplaces?
Well, I'll quickly share that as the marketing person up here, social media is obviously great for marketing, but more importantly, when we share about things that we're doing in our organization, that creates trust and like we're human, that human connection. And those are the posts that are the most liked and shared or commented on, because it's getting an insight into who we are and our culture. And, if you're looking for a partner or a service or whatever, it's kind of nice to know who are you going to be working with? What do they do? What do they believe in? And do they reflect that as part of their culture? And so we do use social media from a marketing perspective, LinkedIn, and we share kind of the insights about our people and our culture.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, to me, social media only makes an impact when it's authentic. And, we have routine posts that we do to highlight our associates, which I think is an incredible way to get to recognize them. But still, some of my favorites are things like last week when we had a themed dress-up day and everybody took their pictures dressed like a cowboy or a cowgal on social media. And we got so much engagement and feedback on that. And so I think at the end of the day, it really is like, how do you use that as a tool to just be able to show a little snippet of who you are every day as you show up at work?
I'll confess, I'm not a big social media fan.
I get it.
Right. And I know that a lot of people are, right? And so like we just had our HR retreat with 400 people across the organization come together, and there were a lot of pictures being taken, or when we do our leadership summit, and those get posted on LinkedIn or I guess LinkedIn primarily. And it's great to see, because I do see like the connection that people are building. But on the flip side of that, I think you see a lot of posts on social media of the perfect, the perfect vacation. Let's use that.
There's
right?
a negative side, yes,
The perfect
obviously.
vacation, right? And then for someone who's lonely and who's not feeling well, or who didn't have the opportunity to go to Italy this year or to go to Paris or whatever, you can start to feel kind of like, oh, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
So I think that we have to be really measured with social media, especially with our younger generations and our kids, and not everything that you, Constance, you know this, not everything that you see out there is true.
Yeah.
And so like, how do we really dig through and find what's true so that we really protect our own mental health and well-being? Because I think it's too easy to get lost in the Instagram scrolling and just feel like, why haven't I lost 50 pounds? I mean, they can do it, why can't I do it, right? And so we can really start getting in our heads in a way that's not healthy.
I can't believe we're already almost out of time completely, but ladies, just quickly, 30 seconds, any other final words of advice, any other nuggets? You've already shared plenty of gems for our room today. Anything else you'd like to share on connections?
I would like to just say that I think it's really important to listen with intent and be vulnerable and authentic, and let people show you their vulnerability and authenticity as well, as a way to really be able to make connections.
Yeah, and I'll just say that you don't know what anyone is going through
right.
at a moment in time. And so, give them grace. And, we all just connected today, and I feel like we're friends already just by chatting and getting to know each other. So just kind of get to know someone and recognize that someone may be having a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. Be a human first and interact with others accordingly. And, at the end of the day, your culture is how work gets done, not what work gets done. And so the more that we can make how work gets done be a way that is really supportive to each individual, I think just brings us all closer together.
Melissa, Christine, Zoe, thank you so much. Let's give our panelists a round of applause.